Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. As we know, the world is getting crazier and crazier by the day, and as it would seem over in Germany, looks like the transgender ideology is taking quite a front seat, as it would seem, because some politicians think that it's okay to jail or imprison parents that do not affirm the madness for their kid. They're not really looking at the rest of the world or even other parts of the EU to notice that this whole gender ideology nonsense that's going on is not good for young kids. But nevertheless, you have these ideological maniacs and dingbats running around thinking that they can control the world. And, well, you know, it's just making me more ashamed of, firstly, my country of heritage. And secondly, I'm already ashamed of Australia, the place that I was born and raised in. Why? Because they do not care about women, nor do they actually care about kids, as it would seem. Seemingly, transgender ideology, especially here in Queensland, Australia, is one that you must affirm. If you do not affirm, you can end up in trouble. I think that is ludicrous. It's madness. Australia is really falling behind. I read an alarming statistic today saying that Australians, a vast majority of us, would actually vote for Kamala Harris if we were allowed to vote for an American politician. For some reason, Kamala Harris came up, in the high 40s, high 50s, whereas Trump was in the low 20s. That is a rather concerning statistic, if you ask me, especially being an Australian. But nevertheless, let's get into this story, shall we? This is from Redux. They do brilliant reporting, ladies and gentlemen. You should definitely go and support them. Germany, transgender politician calls for parents to be imprisoned if they do not affirm their child's gender transition. Just more to the madness. Here is the politician, evidently. Looks like this person is actually putting in a great deal of effort to look like the opposite sex. Like a lot of these biological men put in so much effort. They just put on a wig, or they don't even do that anymore. They just go, I'm a woman. You have to like it or lump it. And screw you. Don't call me hateful or anything like that, even though you actually are a hateful person, because you are claiming to be something you're actually not. And you're mocking the likes of the actual biological sex you're trying to identify as. But, hey, far be it from me, once again, to point that out. A trans-identified member of Germany's parliament is calling for parents who do not comply, with their child's gender transition. No child is born in the wrong body, and no child is ever able to make a decision to transition, I'll have you know. No child, there is no such thing as a trans child. To be prosecuted and imprisoned. Marcus Tesser Gassener, who represents the Green Party, that doesn't surprise me at all. We've got a Greens Party here in Australia, and they're broken. They're a broken bunch of people in terms of their brain capacity and what goes on. I don't even know what the hell goes on in their brain, because nothing that makes sense is said from them. So it doesn't surprise me at all. So represents the Green Party as a woman, recently addressed the queer community, as you do, and also promised that broadly denied conversion treatments should be completely banned. Yeah, that's going to be a great idea, isn't it? Let's ban the conversion therapy entirely. So you don't actually think that what you're doing is converting young, possibly gay individuals to that of trans, or you're converting healthy individuals to that of trans. So that's rather interesting to me. You say that us trying to say that a child is not trans, that's considered conversion therapy and we deserve to go to jail. But you guys saying that, no, you are trans, you need to transition, that's not conversion therapy? Gee, that's interesting too. Contrary to all warnings from therapists, let's forget about the therapist's advice and let's just go ahead with it, because I'm a politician and I'm backwards and broken and a dingbat. The German federal government passed a law banning conversion therapy in 2020 and included within the legislation the concept of gender identity. Of course they did. We can't leave that out, people. Cannot leave that out. Got to include gender identity, because if we don't, we're going to have a massive uproar. this small little minority group. The law applies to all treatments performed on humans that are aimed at changing or suppressing sexual orientation or self-perceived gender identity. Violation is punishable by up to 1 year in prison or a fine. Imagine that, going to prison for stating the truth. So much for free speech and so much for a free democratic society, right? Can't actually say the truth because the truth is considered to be against the law now. Who would have thought? Going against biology and going against science. Germany, of all places. Wow. Parents have so far been exempt from being prosecuted under this law, provided they do not grossly violate their duty of care. What? By saying no to a child? That's not violating a duty of care. That's called being a bloody parent. But trans activists, here we go, are pressuring the government to remove the exemption for parents so that they can be punished if they try to protect their child from social or medical transitioning, which can involve the prescription of puberty-halting drugs or surgery. You know what? These trans activists are incredibly loud, incredibly annoying, and the government listens to them. That's the problem. The government doesn't tell them to shut up and go the hell away because the government knows that if they don't do something, what the trans activists are yelling and screaming at them to do, they won't go away. They're adamant. They want this to actually happen. So parents won't have any right at all to their kid. So what is the point in having a kid? Like, your kid's going to be taken away from you, or you are going to be taken away from your kid for trying to protect your kid, or because these activists jump up and down, yell and scream, rant and rave, and pressure the government. And you know what? You got a bunch of cowards in the government that just go, I'm not going to listen to the therapist. I'm going to listen to these people that got no idea about science or reality. How about that, man? As early as 2020, it was de facto written into the law that all therapists now have to treat trans affirmatively. That's a huge word. Trans affirmatively. So you've got to affirm the madness even more. You can't get away with it now, even if you believe otherwise. Explains child and adolescent psychiatrist Alexander Court at Emma Magazine. He's also aware of many child and adolescent therapists who have already withdrawn from the field as they are frightened of being charged with and prosecuted for conversion therapy should they not affirm the self-perceived gender identity as a young patient. That's concerning. Yeah, let's get rid of all the therapists that have worked incredibly hard at getting their degree. Now, we can't allow them to practice. You know why? Because you've got these people that have a mental health condition or believed in a disgusting and vile lie. And so, therefore, the therapists that know better are not allowed to know better. So we're going to get rid of them. It's going to be a utopia for this gender affirmation madness. Going to practice trans affirmatively. Nuts, man. Absolutely nuts. And this is Germany, man. Germany also recently passed one of the world's most far-reaching self-determination acts, which comes into effect in November. The law, which was met by overwhelming backlash by women's rights campaigners, established gender identity as a protected characteristic and allows parents to change the sex marker on their children's documents from birth. The SBGG also creates the potential for citizens to be fined up to £10,000, approximately $10,800 USD, for revealing a person's given name and birth sex without their permission, an action that trans activists staunchly oppose and refer to as dead naming. I don't really care what the hell you want to call it, but it ain't dead naming at all. So here is the tweet from Redux. Germany passed a new law that will enable parents to transition their baby starting from the moment they are born. How about that? But Gassner, who fathered 2 children before claiming to be a woman, had expressed strong criticisms of the SBGG, claiming it does not go far enough to punish those accused of transphobia. So where was this so-called transphobia when you were having sex with your wife to produce 2 kids, mate? I wonder. So if your kids come up to you and say, hey, Dad, you're not my mum, you're my dad, are you going to punish them as well? Do you think the law needs to go even further? You're mad, mate. Absolutely mad. But nevertheless, these people don't really know what the hell they're talking about. They just want this whole transphobia business to be protected by law. So if someone says anything outside of what they believe, nah, can't have that. We're going to protect our class, our very sacred class. They're overprotected, man. Overprotected. They got way more rights than anybody else in society. And yet they want more. They want to take over by the looks of things. Gassner has also said that he is not satisfied with a section of the bill which requires parents to consent to changing the level or the legal sex, of their children on identification documents. In his opinion, children should be permitted to alter their legal sex beginning from the age of 14 without parental consent. Yeah, sure, that's going to really help the kid out a lot. Kid hasn't even gone through puberty yet, and you want to stuff him up. You're mad, man. Gassner is known for his controversial public persona and routinely prompts outrage from his critics for his exhibitionistic behavior. He has been slammed for his choice of dress when speaking in the German Bundestag, where he has worn a black transparent lace. No way, mate. So that's disgusting. He has also been photographed naked in a woman's sauna while wearing a wig and has claimed that a penis is not a male sexual organ. Yeah, gee. It's definitely not a male sexual organ, mate. So therefore, when you're having sex with your wife, you weren't obviously having sex with your wife with a male penis. Must have been a female penis then. That's interesting. While campaigning for a position in the Bundestag as a member of the Green Party, the party of lunatics and mad people, Gassner told BuzzFeed that he stole his wife's clothes and felt like a child. This guy's got serious issues, man. Serious issues, and yet he's a party member. Wow, discovering himself in the mirror for the first time before he started claiming a trans identity. I saw myself one day in the mirror and was like, yeah, you hot girl. You hot stuff. Sick. Absolutely sick. When Gassner, whose birth name is Marcus, was ultimately elected to Germany's parliament in September 2021, he took a seat that was reserved for female politician representation. Of course he did. Why would he take a male seat position? Because he identifies as being a female, man. So he must go along with that. Otherwise, he's going to cry wolf. He's going to yell and scream and jump up and down. Gassner's latest push to have parents prosecuted for not validating their child's gender identity refers to a 2021 informal agreement by the German federal government to remove the prosecution exemption for parents. Because the nation holds its elections next year, trans activists have been putting pressure on the government to enshrine the agreement into law. Yeah, so they've got a time limit. They know that if the actual party of sense and sanity and reality comes in, the likelihood of them getting this protected more for their so-called rubbish cause is dwindling ever so thinly. As a result, several queer political organizations have submitted a demand paper to the government citing an online survey that claims parents are responsible for the majority of conversion treatments. What do you guys want to do? You just want to remove parents from looking after their own kids. That's insanity, man. That is insane. The survey, which is being withheld from public release, of course it is, classified a broad array of behavior as attempts of conversion therapy, including recommendations from parents that their children take part in a female or male co-ed or coded activities. Feminist and women's rights activist Rona Dewey has requested the complete online survey with questionnaires, study settings, participants, evaluation methodology, figures, and the data from the Federal Center for Health Education within the framework of the Freedom of Information Act. However, it has been protected from publication, with the authors citing copyright and first publication rights. These people are seriously mad. Like, you've taken the definition of what mad is, and they've excelled it to new heights of things that I can't even fully in my brain work out how in the world these people have come to this sort of realization, if you can call it a realization. My goodness me, this is Germany, people. And it's coming to a state or a country near you very, very soon if we're not careful and if we don't continue to speak up and voice our concerns very loudly. We already had in Australia a man beating a woman in court, and the judge says sex is changeable. We had so many women and even some men crying out. That was just madness too. So it's taken over the law. It's taken over everything. Courts, everything. Just all consuming. And we need to push back and push back hard. Anyway, friends, you guys take care. You be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.